Hello, welcome to Just My Thoughts. I'm your host, Khaleel Ward, and on this episode, I'm going to talk about basketball because I haven't talked about basketball in a while. Tom Thibodeau just got fired this evening, and I am shocked. He got fired after winning back-to-back games. He just won by 22 points against the Lakers. Yes, they are outside the playoffs, but it's a weird time to fire somebody in January after a trade of a star player and just an up and down off season into the regular season for Thibodeau. He never got the Wolves to be a defensive powerhouse like his previous Bulls teams. Andrew Wiggins hasn't taken the leap. Karl Towns has been up and down. He really struggled in the playoffs last year. Tibbs managed to get this squad to the playoffs last year, after a long drought. But I guess the whole Jimmy Butler thing in the beginning of the season, it just rubbed people the wrong way as far as management. I'm not sure how his players, respond to him, but he seemed a little, left behind as the league has changed and grown. He's stuck in his ways. But again, it's very surprising that he got fired again after winning back-to-back games. When they first traded Butler, they played well. They managed to get to above 500 for a brief moment, but then they lost like 7 out of 8. So they're outside of the playoffs again. And I guess Minnesota is urgent right now. They want to make a splash or something like that. I don't know if they're going to be sellers. I would look for trade partners for Andrew Wiggins, and just focus everything around Towns, because this team, it's hard to say where they're going with the roster they have right now, especially in a tough Western Conference. But that's going to be the talk of the town for the next few days. Tom Thibodeau getting fired, and I can't wait to hear all the information that comes out of Minnesota. Again, this is just general basketball discussion because I haven't weighed in on anything recently, just only on Twitter. The whole GOAT conversation with LeBron saying that he felt like he was the greatest of all time, and people complaining about that. I didn't think it was a big deal, and people were just overly sensitive. Then you see the MJ video circulating about how he would never say he was the GOAT, but we saw his MVP speech. I mean, his Hall of Fame speech. So it doesn't matter if somebody thinks they're the greatest, it's fine with them saying it. Like, people keep saying they respected this person and that person and this person and that person, but when they name their list of the greatest players of all times, all those people aren't on the list. So the fact that LeBron did something that hasn't been done in NBA history, and at that moment he felt like he was the greatest of all time, that's just how he felt. If you don't agree with it, you don't agree with it. Don't start posting videos of MJ saying he's humble. We all know he's not. So it's really not that big of a deal. Again, a lot of people have LeBron up there in the GOAT conversation. So the fact that he said it, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. It's not an insult to anybody. It's not disrespecting all the people that came before him. But if that was the case, you wouldn't have said LeBron was better than him right now. So the fact that he's saying it is just, he knows. He knows the conversation is being had. He knows what kind of history he made winning the title for Cleveland. So it's not that big of a deal. Moving on, James Harden's MVP case. He's been playing out of his mind. And I'm not the biggest Harden fan. I don't really like watching him play all the time. I like watching him when he's attacking and he's making quick decisions. I hate when he's dribbling way too much and just looking for a call. But he's been on a tear recently, and the Rockets are now back in the playoffs. I think in their 4th, and he's really putting the team on his back. All the injuries that they had and everything like that. But let's pump the brakes on the whole MVP discussion. He's going to excel in the regular season, of course, but we all want to see it in the playoffs. And I don't think MVP is going to go to anybody less than the 3 seed, probably. The whole Westbrook winning the MVP thing. So unless the Rockets somehow get to the 3rd, 2nd seed, and he's still playing like this, then maybe he'll be in the MVP discussion, depending on who's in first place in the West, or in the East. Giannis is having a great season as well. But the Rockets, we don't know if they're back all the way yet. This season has been really up and down for them. Last year they had one losing streak of three or more games. They lost like 5 in a row at one point. This year they already have 3 losing streaks of 3 or more games, and it hasn't always been against great competition. At one point they lost games to Detroit, Cleveland, and Washington, and Dallas. And Harden was putting up monster numbers then: 33 points, 40 points, 54 points. They've gone on a nice streak. They lost their most recent game to Portland. Again, Harden is putting up great numbers, but you never know. They got Denver and Milwaukee coming up next. They might lose those 2 games. That'll be another 3-game losing streak on the books. Then they have a softer schedule with Cleveland and Orlando coming up. But we never know how this season is going to really turn out for the Rockets, and we don't know if they're all the way back. They might get healthier and play worse. Again, I want to see Harden do it in the playoffs. I was looking at his numbers in the playoffs, and it wasn't like a terrible playoffs last year for him. He still put up the scoring numbers, but it's like the shooting goes down so much because he can't get to the line. So his efficiency is affected by that. But if you watched him last year in the playoffs, game ones, he had 40 points in each game one last year. He made at least 5 3-pointers in each game one, and he shot at least 55% from 3-point range in every game one last year. Of course, he won the first 2 rounds. He lost to Golden State, but still had 40 points. In game 2s, he struggled in all the game 2s. I believe in the first round series, he only had 12 points in game 2, but his shooting from 3-point range in game 2s last year in the playoffs, 6 for 35. Like, he struggled to put together back-to-back good games in the playoffs. So right now, again, it's easy in the regular season. You playing all these different teams, but when they focus on you and they have time to game plan, Harden struggles and sometimes fades away. So I want to see him get to the playoffs and just have a first-round series where he's just dominant each game. Then it's like, okay, this guy is really the MVP, or really should be in the discussion. But him in the regular season, it's not, it's good to see, but again, we don't know if this team is really all the way there yet. Last but not least, Russell Westbrook and his struggles. I'm not gonna go crazy about it. Only thing I want him to do is stop shooting 3-pointers as much. But his last 5 games, he was bad against Dallas. Then he was good against Dallas. Then he was bad against the Lakers. Then he was good against the Blazers. Then he was bad against the Wizards. Like, his shooting is just, it's all over the place. Maybe he's injured. I don't know. In terms of the free throws, maybe him not being able to walk back to half court is really messing with him, because Royce Young from ESPN wrote the story about him and his routine, him struggling at the line. He was doing that routine for so long. It's really, really affecting his shooting. But like, if you look at the games, one game he shoots 18%, next game he shoots 54%, then the next game he shoots 15%, and then he comes back and shoots 46%. Then he has a 39% game, but he's shooting way too many 3-pointers. He just needs to keep attacking, keep playing with that energy. I would rather him miss his mid-range, pull-up shots or trying to attack the basket and not getting foul calls and miss those shots than him go 0 for 8 from 3-point range. Sometimes he needs to just defer to Paul George earlier in the game and more often in the game. He shouldn't go 3 for 20. But Paul George is playing great, so Westbrook needs to keep feeding him, get those assist numbers up or anything. Keep attacking the glass. He's averaging another triple-double, yippee. But his shooting is just all over the place. He's just, every other game is a good game. So I'm not too worried about him because he's still playing with the energy that we're used to seeing him play with. But maybe something is wrong with his shoulder or something. Maybe his elbow or something like that. Maybe it's something that hasn't been discussed yet in terms of why his shooting is so erratic. But that's just some NBA talk I wanted to get into and, just give my thoughts because it's been a while and I do love talking NBA. Leave a comment, Let me know what you following right now in the league. I know there's a lot of things going on right now, but thank you for listening. Deuces.